An enhanced risk fires across the Central Plains this afternoon, and roughly 8 million people are in the threat zone. But this morning is quiet. Doppler Online. Thursday, April 23, 2026. SPC Severe Weather Briefing. A marginal risk holds through sunrise across the northern high plains. Then the atmosphere loads, and the threat escalates sharply afternoon. Central Kansas through Iowa is the bullseye, and if you live anywhere in that corridor, the next 12 hours demand your full attention. On your screen now is the GFS 250 millibar jet stream forecast. Watch that speed maximum dig southeastward out of the northern Rockies and accelerate directly over the Central Plains through this evening. That jet streak parks right over the threat area, providing the divergence aloft needed to ventilate storms and keep updrafts explosive. The upper-level energy is channeling directly into the region where surface moisture and instability will peak this afternoon. Now looking at 850 millibar winds. The low-level jet ramps to 40-plus knots out of the south, transporting warm, moist Gulf air straight into eastern Kansas and Iowa, exactly where the enhanced risk sits. This map shows warm air advection and frontogenetical forcing. Notice the sharpest temperature gradients tightening across central Kansas and into Iowa, where the boundary is focusing the most aggressive lift. On your screen now is surface-based CAPE overlaid with wind shear crossovers. The highest instability values overlap precisely with the strongest directional shear across eastern Kansas and central Iowa, and that overlap zone is where supercell and tornado potential concentrates this afternoon. Now looking at 850 millibar temperature and wind. Temperatures at this level are running well above normal across the southern plains, and the low is tracking northeast out of Colorado, orienting inflow directly into the threat corridor. Before I walk you through who specifically needs to act, I need to show you something in the hazard breakdown that changes how you should prepare. The morning maps show a quiet atmosphere. On screen is the Day 1 morning categorical outlook. You can see a marginal risk in darker green centered over central South Dakota and Nebraska, with broader general thunderstorm areas scattered across Montana, the Dakotas, and a secondary pocket along the Texas Gulf Coast. The morning tornado probability map is completely blank. No contours anywhere across the country. The morning wind map shows just a 5% contour over the Dakotas and central Nebraska. The morning hail map shows a single 5% contour over eastern South Dakota into northeastern Nebraska. That is your morning. Quiet. These afternoon maps are what demand your attention. The Day 1 categorical outlook on screen now shows the enhanced risk in orange centered over central Kansas and southern Nebraska, with a slight risk in yellow expanding outward across much of Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri. Marginal risk in darker green stretches from South Dakota through Oklahoma and into northern Texas, extending east into Illinois and Indiana. Now the tornado probability map. This afternoon, a 10% tornado risk shown in yellow locks over central Iowa near the Iowa-Missouri border, surrounded by a 5% contour covering much of Iowa and extending into northwest Illinois. The 2% zone stretches from southern Minnesota through Missouri into northern Arkansas. What matters most is the black hatching. That significant tornado indicator covers nearly the entire 5 and 10% zones, meaning the Storm Prediction Center sees potential for violent or long-track tornadoes across eastern Iowa, the Quad Cities region, and northwest Illinois this afternoon and evening. Supercells, rotating thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes, are the expected storm mode in this corridor. If you are in this hatched zone, you need a shelter plan finalized before storms fire. The wind probability map shows a 15% contour in yellow stretching from central Oklahoma northward through Kansas, Nebraska, and into southern Iowa. A broader 5% zone fans out across the entire region from Oklahoma to Minnesota and into Michigan. This afternoon and tonight, wind gusts of 60 to 75 miles per hour are possible in the strongest storms, capable of snapping trees, downing power lines, and peeling roofing material. The hail probability map is where this outlook gets particularly aggressive. A 30% contour in red with significant hail hatching is tightly clustered over central to southern Iowa. The 15% zone in yellow extends from the Minnesota-Wisconsin border southward through eastern Iowa into northern Missouri. This afternoon into the evening hours, hail 2 inches in diameter or larger is possible in the strongest supercells. That will shatter windshields, dent vehicles, and damage siding in minutes. Day 2 shifts the slight risk south into central Oklahoma and the Arkansas-Missouri border corridor. The primary hazard is damaging wind with a 15% contour over that region and a low-end 2% tornado threat across western Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. Day 3 brings an enhanced risk back to central Oklahoma and southern Kansas with a broad general thunderstorm footprint across the southeast. starting with the highest risk. The Wichita Metro sits inside the enhanced zone this afternoon. Supercells tracking northeast through that area bring large hail as the primary threat, with damaging winds close behind. If you have vehicles, get them covered before noon. Have your shelter location identified and your alerts active. Des Moines is ground zero for the most dangerous hazards this afternoon. You are inside the 30% hail contour, the 10% tornado zone, and the significant hatching for both. This is the city where I am most concerned about a violent tornado scenario unfolding between 3 and 9 p.m. Your safe room plan needs to be locked in now. Kansas City sits in the slight risk with hail and wind as the primary threats through the evening. Omaha is on the northern edge of the slight zone and should expect large hail and gusty winds as storms propagate northeastward this afternoon. Minneapolis is in the slight zone with a lower end but real severe wind threat developing later tonight. Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, Springfield, St. Louis, and Tulsa are all in the marginal zone with a fringe risk of isolated severe storms, but no concentrated threat warranting specific action beyond standard awareness. Storm initiation this afternoon begins along the dryline and frontal boundary visible on the surface analysis chart, where you can see the cold front sweeping eastward through the central plains with low-pressure centers near Colorado and Montana. Expect the first supercells to fire between 2 and 4 p.m. Central across central Kansas. The severe thunderstorm threat area marked in yellow hatching on the national forecast chart sits squarely over Iowa, Missouri, and eastern Kansas, exactly matching the SPC outlook. Storms will track northeast at 35 to 45 miles per hour, reaching the Des Moines metro by 5 to 7 p.m. and pushing into northwest Illinois and the Quad Cities by 8 to 10 p.m. Overnight severe weather is possible across the upper Midwest as the system continues northeast. The low-level jet strengthens after dark, which can intensify the tornado threat even after sunset. The SPC will issue the next day one outlook update around 16:30 UTC, which is 11:30 a.m. Central. Watch for any upgrade in the tornado probabilities. No watches are active right now, and none will be needed this morning. That changes this afternoon. Expect the first tornado watch to be issued between 1 and 3 p.m. Central, likely covering central Kansas through central Iowa. When that watch drops, your preparation window is closed. Be ready before it posts. Looking beyond today, Day 2 on Friday brings a slight risk shifting south into the Arkansas-Missouri-Oklahoma corridor. You can see on the Day 2 categorical map that yellow slight risk centered over central Oklahoma with marginal risk expanding into Texas and the Gulf states. The Day 2 wind map shows the 15% contour concentrated over the Missouri-Arkansas border. Day 3 Saturday ramps back up with an enhanced risk over central Oklahoma. The Day 4 and Day 5 extended outlooks both carry 30% severe probabilities. Day 4 Sunday focuses on central Kansas, and Day 5 Monday shifts that core into the Iowa and northern Missouri corridor again. This is a multi-day pattern. The trough is not done with the plains until at least early next week. Day 6 currently shows no outlined risk, which may be the first real break. I am putting the action plan on your screen right now. Step 1. Shelter. Identify your interior room on the lowest floor away from windows right now. If you are in the tornado corridor across Iowa and northwest Illinois, this is not optional. Know exactly where every person in your household goes when the warning sounds. Step 2. Alerts. Charge every device in your home. Enable wireless emergency alerts on every phone and make sure they are set to override silent mode. Step 3. Property. If hail is your primary threat, and across central Iowa it absolutely is, get every vehicle into a garage or under hard cover before noon. Secure any loose outdoor furniture or items that become projectiles in 60-mile-per-hour winds. Step 4. Household plan. Brief every person in your home on the plan before storms fire. Everyone should know where to go and what the alerts sound like. Days 4 and 5 both carry enhanced equivalent probabilities, so this pattern is not a one-day event. Stay plugged in through the weekend. If you are in the threat zone today, tell me in the comments how you are preparing and whether your shelter plan is set. Doppler tracking. Stay weather aware and keep your alerts on. End transmission.